Hello, world. Welcome to the 196th climate change emergency protest. It is September 9th, 2022. Next week will be the 197th, and that'll be on September 16th, 2022. This is September 9th, 2022. This is my second attempt at this. Facebook has garbled my transmission again for the second time in 2 weeks. So I had the perfect broadcast this morning. It was wonderful. It did a great job. And I don't think I can duplicate what I said because a lot of it was extemporaneous. But what I'm standing in front of is the 1st Minnesota Regiment, who was ordered into battle on the second day's battle here at Gettysburg, second day of the 3-day fight at Gettysburg. And they lost 83% of their men in this one little battle here for an hour. I don't know if that makes sense to you, but they went in there with like 260 some guys. They came out with, they lost 216 or so. So anyways, it's a huge amount. And the thing about it back then in the Civil War, most people don't know, is that you were from, the group you joined was from your own town. So if you ran and hid and, ran away from the battle, everyone in town would know it. So it was kind of forced collusion in that they all had to stay and fight no matter what. Even though these guys were going to die, they knew they were going to die. What they did is buy time for the backup regiment, the reserves, to come in and fill in the gaps. But they blunted the Confederates' attack, the South's attack, and they sacrificed themselves. So it's 83% casualties, unheard of. Just crazy how much they're willing to do. And it is really truly what Lincoln said was the last full measure, and they gave it their all. And right now, there's nothing out there that is willing to, there's no one, nothing on God's green earth that is willing to sacrifice even their friendships and their families and things like that to keep up the attack concerning climate change. And even though people don't want to believe it here in the United States. So Queen Elizabeth died yesterday, and now we have King Charles III, who was Prince Charles, now he's King Charles. Elizabeth was in charge of Great Britain for 70 years. She was 96 years old. So, Britain, you need your time to mourn, but don't take too long. Extinction Rebellion, they had to cancel their event. I'll talk about that in a minute. But don't take a whole lot of time because we need you on board to get going on this climate change situation. And I'm going to talk about King Charles and his son William. They are truly climate change advocates. And if you go on YouTube, I know people poo-poo him and say he's all pompous and all this stuff. Who cares? Right now, he's the only advocate we have for climate change that is of any power or any notoriety. And if you go on YouTube, you can see all his broadcasts and everything that he's done, interviews and things like that over the years. He's done amazing stuff, and hopefully he won't become a king and stodgy and all that stuff. And, hopefully he'll keep pursuing climate change and make the dialogue available for everyone. So the King Charles becoming king is a new era for climate change, hopefully. This signals a new thing going on, and hopefully it'll all work out, but it'll make the dialogue, more prevalent and push politicians and the media to start recognizing climate change for the dire situation it is. He has no real power, but a dialogue needs to be open about climate change. It's been a subject to be avoided by all leaders, and the king can lead the way. He can become, the lightning rod for change in Great Britain, and Europe's ready to change immediately as far as climate change goes. They had it going on until COVID came about. Greta Thunberg, and she had millions of people following her, and then COVID hit, and everything fell apart. So King Charles has a book called Terra Carta. It's just like Magna Carta, but it's called Terra Carta, and it's about the rights of the earth, and of course we're living on this planet, and we got to live as one with the planet. And I've ordered that book myself. I want to read it. It's kind of interesting, I would assume. As I said, he's on YouTube, but he's all about climate change. He talks about it being a dire situation. Talk leads to action. Okay, even though he has no power, he can steer the conversation that people start talking about climate change, and the media and the politicians over there, and then hopefully here. It shapes public opinion. The media can shape public opinion as well. If you wait for the politicians, it's going to do more of the same. They're corrupted through and through. They will not change. They're bought out by the oil industry or just pressure by their cohorts that they refuse to change, and things keep going the way they do. And we're going to all die. Extinction Rebellion, they had to postpone their event this weekend. It was called Festival of Resistance, and the reason is because of the Queen's death, and she won't be buried for 10 days after she died. And so this is going to go on, and we're losing a lot of time. Hopefully King Charles will pick up the slack when they come out of this and get moving severely. So I'm calling people of the world and Extinction Rebellion to, do your mourning and your sorrow for the Queen, but move on, please. Then get at it like your life depends on it, because it does. There's a tide in Europe going right now, and it can quickly change and they can become the whole change for the whole world if they get going the way they were in 2019. So I'm calling on Greta Thunberg, Prince Charles, Prince William, politicians that are like-minded, Green Party and things like that, to get on this in Europe, and it will spill over somewhat to the United States, but I'll talk about the United States later here. Right now, Europe has been suffering heat extremes, fires in Spain and Portugal. 2,000 people died this summer, and as a result of the fires and the extreme heat. In France, they had fires. Greece, they had fires. Italy, they had fires. You name it. Throughout Europe, there were fires. Rivers throughout Europe are drying up and have dried up. Even the Thames is drying up upstream. So it's a whole thing going on. Now, in the United States, I don't know if you guys around the world have seen this or not, but the United States right now has 70 major fires in the West. 70 major fires. These aren't minor little things. These are 70 major fires in the West. That's the worst drought in 1,200 years. They might as well say in human history, because they don't know beyond that how bad it was. Yeah, they can look at tree rings, but there aren't too many trees around there 1,200 years old other than sequoias and things like that. They've had floods in Texas, then on top of it, Georgia, Kentucky, Connecticut, Massachusetts, and Maryland. So the United States has to be a special kind of stupid what's going on. All these events are happening throughout the United States. You have these floods in Kentucky, and one of the leaders of the Republican Party, Mitch McConnell, and Rand Paul are from Kentucky, and they refuse to say the word climate change. And you know what's going to happen? This is going to keep happening over and over again until they start addressing the issue and get on board and start working on the issue to reduce carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. So the United States is a special kind of stupid. I mean, you have outright deniers, and they're really bad, but the worst ones are the ones that are de facto deniers. They might talk about it, but they really don't want to do anything about it. They don't want to have conversations about it. They know it's a problem, but we're not going to get to it. But we'll let the politicians get to it. Joe Biden will get to it, and Kamala Harris, they'll get to it, right? Extinction Rebellion is just asking a few things in their talks, is to tell the truth, act now, go beyond politics, let the public help decide what's going to go, which directions we're going to go, and have citizens' assemblies. Right now, the United States is absolutely idiotic. We have climate change refugees going on by the thousands now. They're burned out houses, they're flooded out houses, farmers losing their fields and their farms due to drought. The politicians are actually doing absolutely nothing. Yeah, they put through a bill for a couple windmills and some solar panels, but in exchange for that, they negotiate with Joe Manchin to allow fracking first and allow drilling on public lands before they're allowed to allow solar panels and windmills on public lands. So they have to allow their fracking and their oil drilling on public lands before they're allowed to actually do environmental concerns. So it's a wash at that point. In fact, we probably fell a couple steps backwards. So that's what was agreed to by the Democrats, and with Joe Manchin at the helm here, who's actually ruling the party, believe it or not. So there are no politicians in charge right now that are climate change activists. None, not any. You can argue that all you want, but you look at what's happening and nothing's happening. There's no conversation, no nothing. There's no rising to the level of existential threat that Joe Biden had said during the campaign. If it's an existential threat, then it's immediate, it's life-threatening, it's going to wipe out all life on Earth, and nothing's being done. This is horrible. The media has hardly mentioned climate change in their reports. Yeah, they'll show a fire, they'll show a flood, but they won't link it with climate change. They won't do any exposés, they won't do any documentaries, they won't take an extra 5 minutes to report about climate change. Meanwhile, they cover the Queen, some old lady that died, sorry to offend you in Britain, but that's a fact, some old lady that died for 44 minutes in their news report, but they won't cover climate change for more than 9 seconds. It's just pitiful. So nothing is being done from Biden or Harris. No words are being said. No nothing. No iteration as to what's happening around the world. We are literally dying. Countries of the world are dying right now. China's gone through its worst heat wave ever. Heat waves. And rivers are drying up. The Yangtze River is drying up in China. 60 million people in Africa, the Horn of Africa, are starving to death. Half of Somalia is starving to death. So what I'm asking you to do is, like on Facebook and YouTube, I have 876 followers on Facebook right now, and I have over 3,000 friends. So, if these people would just broadcast and do their displeasure at what's happening, we'd get a whole tidal wave going. That's just people spilling into other people and doing broadcasts and things like that. This could go exponential. YouTube, I have dozens of subscribers on there. I don't have a whole lot, but a lot of people, more and more, are joining up and actually following the YouTube broadcasts that I have on climate change. So I call everyone to rise up, talk with your friends and family, post on Facebook and YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, whatever you need to do. Because what's going to happen is we're not going to survive this. As a civilization, we're definitely not going to survive this. What happens, as Roger Hallam says, is once this stuff starts happening, and it is, you'll see breakdown of government operations. They won't be there to help you. And then you're on your own, and then mayhem breaks loose. And everything that associated with mayhem and chaos that you can imagine is going to happen. So it's well within your desires to actually make something happen and start broadcasting, share your displeasure. Don't give an automatic vote to your parties. They need to work for your vote and actually show that. Example in Pennsylvania right now is the two senatorial candidates on both parties are actually all about fracking. And on the governor's side, they're both candidates are about fracking. So that's not an answer. Right now, your children are going to die, you're going to die, and your grandkids are going to die. So you're not getting it. You're not understanding how dire the situation is. We're literally down to a matter of years until all shit breaks loose, because some places right now are going through hell right now. You look at the West, you look at the Midwest, you look at the floods, you look in Europe, you look in China, you look in Africa, you look in South America with the rainforest burning down and being cut up. They're at a tipping point where the rainforest is going to tip over, and eventually it won't be able to survive, because no rainforest leads to more drought, which leads to more no rain, which leads to more tree loss, which it's a cycle, okay? It's a feedback loop. So right now we're risking total civilization collapse, a biosphere collapse. You cannot live on a planet that's dying. And ultimately, if the biosphere collapses, then all life on Earth dies, okay? The Earth will reset itself. The Earth will be fine. It's gone through stuff like this in the millennia ago, millions of years ago. But it'll reset once all life gets wiped out. I mean, before in the Great Dying, 95% of all life on Earth died. So this is what we're headed towards. We're going at such a rate. It's not that you can't adapt to the temperatures rising up slowly over millions of years. This is happening at an exponential rate. Things are happening within decades, and now we're seeing it year by year that it's getting worse and worse and worse. And if you have half a brain in your head, Americans, you would see and connect the dots as to where this is going. There's nothing positive going in the right direction. So you got to wake up and realize what's happening. So next week I'll catch you. That'll be number 197. That'll be on September 16th. And hopefully this broadcast worked. This is my second attempt, as I said. I'll catch you next week, and I will upload to Facebook and YouTube. Thank you.